15 years, the judge pronounced, his voice echoing through the hushed courtroom. 15 years in federal prison. I should have felt vindicated. After all, watching my husband of 25 years standing there in his prison jumpsuit, shoulders slumped in defeat, was what I had worked toward these past months. But instead, a strange emptiness washed over me. 25 years of marriage, 53 years of sisterhood, all reduced to this moment. My name is Margaret Pierce, and at 55, I never imagined I'd be sitting in a courtroom watching my husband being sentenced for fraud while holding my sister's trembling hand. As the guards led James away, his eyes found mine across the courtroom. Those eyes, once so charming, so convincing, and now hollow with fear. He held my gaze until he disappeared through the side door. The man I had shared my bed with for a quarter century, gone. "You okay?" David whispered beside me, his hand steady on mine. I nodded, unable to speak. How could I explain that in winning, I had lost something irreplaceable? Not James that had been lost long before, but the certainty that I knew who I was and where I belonged in the world. "Margaret," Caroline's voice broke behind me. My sister, my betrayer, my blood leaned forward. "Is it really over?" I turned to face her, seeing beyond the designer clothes and carefully applied makeup to the little girl who once followed me everywhere. "No," I said softly. "It's just beginning." Flashback the discovery. 6 months earlier, I had returned from my business trip to Chicago with a small velvet box in my purse, a 25th anniversary gift for James. 25 years. Silver. Stability. Forever. Such laughable concepts now. The house was quiet when I entered, but something felt immediately wrong. 25 years of marriage gives you a sixth sense about your space. The subtle shift in furniture. The faint scent that doesn't belong. "James?" I called, setting down my suitcase in the foyer of our Tudor-style home, the one we'd purchased 15 years ago when his family business finally turned the corner and my investments had matured enough for a comfortable down payment. No answer. I made my way upstairs to our bedroom, the velvet box heavy in my pocket. Our walk-in closet door stood slightly ajar. James was typically fastidious about closing doors, a habit from his privileged upbringing in a house full of servants. His father, Henry Harris, had ensured his only son grew up with all the trappings of old money, even as the family business weathered difficult times. The vintage Chanel wedding dress I'd been saving not for myself, but for Caroline was missing from its protective garment bag. In its place lingered the unmistakable scent of my sister's vanilla perfume, the same one she'd worn since college. That's when my phone rang. "Charlotte," I answered, my voice steadier than I felt. "Something's wrong. The wedding dress is gone, and Caroline's perfume is everywhere." "Margaret, sit down." Charlotte's voice had that unnaturally calm quality she reserved for her divorced clients facing the worst revelations. "There's something you need to know." My stomach clenched as I sank onto the edge of our king-sized bed, still in my travel clothes. The bed where James and I had celebrated anniversaries, nursed each other through illnesses, held each other through losses. "James and Caroline got married yesterday. In your dress." The words struck me physically, like a blow to the chest. I gripped my phone tighter, knuckles whitening. "What?" "It's all over social media. I tried calling you all day." "My phone died on the plane," I whispered. The pieces started falling into place: James' recent distance, Caroline's excessive interest in our anniversary plans, their mutual insistence that I take this business trip despite the approaching celebration. I thought back to the dinner 3 weeks ago when James had first suggested I take the Chicago trip. "The Hamilton account needs your personal touch," he'd said, refilling my wine glass. "Nobody handles those old money types like you do." He'd smiled then, that charming smile that had first attracted me 27 years ago at a charity auction. "Besides, it'll give me time to plan something special for our anniversary." Something special indeed. "I'm coming over," Charlotte declared. "No," I said, my voice finding its strength. "I need to handle this myself." After hanging up, I opened Instagram. There they were, dozens of photos of my sister in my dress, kissing my husband of 25 years. The caption under Caroline's post read, "When you know it's meant to be." "Sorry, sis, sometimes love can't wait." I laughed, actually laughed, because while they were playing their little game, they had no idea about the cards I held. My phone buzzed with a text from Richard, my mentor. Deal sealed. You now own controlling interest in Harris Technologies. Announcement goes public next week. Congratulations. James' family company, the one his grandfather had built, his father had expanded, and he had been slowly driving into the ground. The one I'd just acquired through a series of shell companies and careful maneuvering. I closed my eyes, remembering the morning James' father had taken me aside at our wedding reception. Take care of him, the old man had whispered. 3 generations of Harris men have been brilliant with ideas but terrible with money. James needs someone practical. What would he say now, knowing his son had betrayed not just his wife but his family legacy? Flashback: early marriage. As I stood by the window watching the rain, a memory surfaced: James and I, just married, caught in a summer downpour outside our first apartment. We'd run through puddles, laughing like children, not caring that my new silk blouse was ruined or that his Italian leather shoes would never be the same. That night, as we dried each other off with threadbare towels, he'd promised me forever. Nobody else will ever understand me like you do, Margie, he'd said, using the nickname only he was allowed to use. You're my anchor. Even then, I'd known James needed anchoring. The Harris men had always been dreamers with expensive tastes and poor financial instincts. His grandfather had nearly lost the company during the Depression, saved only by a timely government contract. His father had expanded too rapidly in the 80s, requiring a humiliating private equity bailout. And James, brilliant, charismatic, utterly irresponsible James, had inherited both their vision and their fatal flaw. I'd spent 25 years making sure Harris Technologies stayed afloat, using my financial acumen behind the scenes while James played the charismatic public face. I'd strategized, planned, networked, all while allowing him to believe he was the business genius. And I'd done it willingly, because I loved him, because I believed in the company, because that's what wives of my generation did. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Jennifer, Caroline's best friend, standing there with an apologetic look. Margaret, I'm so sorry. I tried to stop her, but, come in, I said calmly. Tell me everything. She settled on my couch, the same one James and I had argued over in a furniture store 20 years ago. He'd wanted something modern. I'd insisted on comfort. Comfort had won, but now every cushion seemed to hold the ghost of his presence. It was planned for weeks, Jennifer said, wringing her hands. Caroline said you didn't deserve James, that you were too focused on your career. She paused. She's always been jealous of you, you know. Even when we were in college together. My brilliant sister this, my perfect sister that. I nodded, remembering how our mother had always pushed Caroline to be more like me. Strong like Margaret, she'd say, not realizing the damage those comparisons were causing. Our father, a mathematics professor with little patience for what he called feminine frivolity, had further widened the gap by celebrating my academic achievements while dismissing Caroline's artistic talents. She's terrified of aging, Jennifer continued softly. Ever since her last divorce, she's been obsessed with proving she's still desirable. When she turned 50 last year, she had that breakdown. You remember. I did remember. The frantic call from Caroline's psychiatrist, the week-long stay at the wellness retreat I'd paid for, the seemingly endless therapy sessions where she'd blamed everyone but herself for her unhappiness. You've always had everything, she'd accused me during one particularly bitter session. The looks, the brains, the perfect husband. Perfect. How little my sister knew. Caroline convinced James you were cheating with a business partner, Jennifer continued. She had photos of you having dinner with Richard. Richard is 63, widowed for 15 years, and more of a father to me than my own had been. The man who'd mentored me through a male-dominated industry, who'd taught me that to survive in investment banking, a woman had to be twice as smart and 3 times as strategic as any man in the room. They timed the wedding to coincide with your business trip, Jennifer finished. They're having a celebration dinner tonight at LeBlanc. After she left, I stood at my window watching the rain. It had rained on my wedding day too. My mother had called it a blessing. Rain on your wedding day means a marriage that will last. Another prediction shattered. My phone buzzed. James calling. I declined it, then opened my laptop to check my emails. The acquisition paperwork was there, waiting for my final signature. My finger hovered over the mouse. One click, and I'd own everything the Harris family had built over 3 generations. One click, and I could destroy them both. The rain intensified outside, matching the storm brewing inside me. Another text came through, this time from Caroline. Please don't hate me. We need to talk. I closed my eyes, remembering all the times I'd protected her, supported her, loved her. How many times had I picked up the pieces after her 2 failed marriages? How many times had I lent her money when her art gallery salary couldn't cover her expenses? How many times had I put her first? At our father's funeral 5 years ago, it was Caroline who'd fallen apart, and I who had handled everything, the arrangements, the finances, the endless parade of faculty colleagues offering stilted condolences. Afterward, as we sorted through his papers in his spartanly furnished study, Caroline had found his journal. He was proud of you, she'd said, her voice small as she read an entry. Listen to this. Margaret presented her investment strategy to my colleagues today. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. She's outdone even my expectations. He never wrote anything like that about me. I'd taken the journal from her hands, finding other entries. Caroline's art exhibition opened today. Pretty pictures, I suppose, though I don't understand modern art. At least she seems happy. He tried, in his emotionally stunted way. But Caroline had never seen it. Opening my eyes, I clicked sign on the acquisition documents. Then, I opened my closet, pulled out my best dress, not white, but blood red, and began to get ready. They wanted to play games? Fine. But they'd forgotten one crucial detail about me. I never played to participate. I played to win. As I applied my lipstick, my phone lit up with a text from Richard. Confirmation received. Congratulations on your new company, CEO. I smiled at my reflection. The lines around my eyes spoke of decades of determination. The silver strands of my dark hair, which I refused to color, testified to earned wisdom. At 25, betrayal might have broken me. At 55, it only made me more dangerous. Sometimes, karma needs a little help, I whispered to my reflection, and I'm more than happy to assist. Strategy meeting, you're scary when you're calm like this, Charlotte said, watching me pour us both a glass of wine in my kitchen. I expected tears, screaming, maybe some plate throwing, but this. She gestured at my composed demeanor. This is terrifying. What's terrifying is how predictable they both are, I replied, sliding her glass across the counter. Did you know James has been trying to secure additional funding for months? His family's company is hemorrhaging money. Charlotte's eyes widened. And you bought it? Through shell companies and private equity firms? Richard helped structure it so neither of them would notice. I took a sip of wine. James was so busy planning his little betrayal he didn't even notice who was buying up shares. Charlotte and I had been friends since our first day at business school 30 years ago, the only 2 women in a class of 60 men. We'd survived sexist professors, handsy classmates, and the constant pressure to be twice as good as our male peers. Later, when Charlotte's husband left her for his 24-year-old secretary, I'd been the one to help her pick up the pieces and rebuild her life. Now she was one of the most sought-after divorce attorneys in the city, specializing in helping women get what they deserve from unfaithful husbands. Jesus, Margaret, Charlotte leaned forward. What are you planning? The doorbell interrupted us. Through the peephole, I saw Richard's familiar silhouette. I opened the door to find him holding a thick manila envelope. The final paperwork, he said, stepping inside. Everything's in order, but we need to discuss timing. Richard Pearson had been a fixture in my life since I was a junior analyst at his investment firm. Now 63, with a shock of white hair and piercing blue eyes, he still had the same intense energy that had intimidated me when I was 22. He'd lost his wife to cancer 15 years ago, and since then, had thrown himself even more completely into his work. He was more father than mentor to me now, the man who'd helped me navigate a business world that still often treated women as decorative accessories rather than serious players. We gathered around my dining table, spreading documents across its surface. Richard pointed to several key sections while Charlotte watched, fascinated. The announcement goes public next week, Richard explained. Once it does, the board will be restructured. James' position as CEO becomes redundant. He doesn't know? Charlotte asked. He's been too busy stealing my sister and my dress to notice his company slipping through his fingers, I said, signing another document. My phone buzzed. Another call from James. Sometimes today you should answer it, Richard suggested. Keep him off balance. I hit accept. Hello, James. Margaret, thank God. We need to talk. His voice was strained. What happened? It's not what you think. Oh, so you didn't marry my sister in my wedding dress? Silence. That's what I thought. I kept my voice light, pleasant. Congratulations, by the way. I hope you both got everything you wanted. Margaret, please. I have to go. I'm in the middle of something important. Business. You know how it is. I hung up before he could respond. Charlotte whistled low. Ice cold. Speaking of business, Richard interjected. We need to discuss the gala next week. The acquisition announcement will be made there. All major shareholders are expected to attend, including James and his family. I nodded. A plan forming. Send them all invitations. Make it impossible to refuse. Margaret, Charlotte touched my arm. Are you sure about this? Revenge might feel good now, but this isn't just revenge, I interrupted. This is business. James' family company is failing because of his mismanagement. I'm saving it. And if I happen to destroy his reputation in the process, well. I shrugged. Karma. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Caroline. Please answer my calls. I can explain everything. Your sister's persistent, Richard observed. She's scared, I corrected. She knows me well enough to know I don't get mad. I get even. Charlotte picked up one of the documents. What about the employees? The people who depend on Harris Technologies for their livelihoods? They'll be protected. I've already planned a restructuring that preserves most positions. I turned to Richard. Speaking of which, how's the PR strategy coming along? Ready to go. We're positioning this as a rescue operation. Experienced, innovative CEO saves struggling company. He smiled. The press will love it. As they discussed logistics, I found myself thinking back to James' father, Henry Harris. He'd always treated me with a mixture of admiration and patronizing affection. You're the backbone of this family, Margaret, he told me at our 20th anniversary party. James has the Harris charm, but you have the Harris determination more than any of us born with the name. It was the closest he'd ever come to acknowledging how much the company relied on me. Another text from James. Just saw the gala invitation. We need to talk before then, please. I showed it to Richard, who chuckled. He's starting to sweat. Good. What's your next move? Charlotte asked. I walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. Tomorrow, I'm going shopping for a gala dress, something unforgettable. Then, I'm going to show up at their celebration dinner tonight at LeBlanc. Margaret, Charlotte started. Don't worry, I assured her. I won't make a scene. I'll just congratulate the happy couple, maybe mention how excited I am about next week's business announcement. Richard gathered the documents, sliding them back into the envelope. Remember, discretion is crucial until the announcement. Trust me, I said, checking my reflection in the mirror. I know exactly what I'm doing. As they left, Charlotte hugged me tightly. Just don't lose yourself in this, okay? I watched them leave, then checked my phone one last time. A new text from Caroline. Saw you're attending the gala. What are you planning? I smiled, typing back. Just supporting my sister's new family. Isn't that what sisters do? Slipping my phone into my purse, I grabbed my keys. LeBlanc was waiting, and I had a dinner to crash. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with a smile and perfect timing. At LeBlanc restaurant, LeBlanc was exactly as pretentious as I remembered, all crystal chandeliers and white tablecloths. James had proposed to me here 26 years ago. The restaurant had aged better than our vows. I spotted them immediately. Caroline in a designer dress that probably cost more than her monthly salary, James looking uncomfortable in his tailored suit. They were surrounded by friends, champagne flowing freely. Table for one, I told the maitre d', loud enough to carry. Heads turned, conversation stopped. Margaret, Caroline gasped, standing up so quickly her chair scraped against the floor. What are you? Don't let me interrupt. I smiled, accepting the menu from the hovering waiter. I just came for the lamb. It's excellent here, isn't it, James? We used to order it every anniversary. James' face had lost all color. Margaret, please. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I covered my mouth in mock embarrassment. It's not our anniversary anymore, is it? My mistake. Congratulations, by the way. The photos were beautiful. My dress looked lovely on you, Caroline. The silence at their table was deafening. Their friends shifted uncomfortably, some avoiding eye contact, others openly staring. I recognized most of them, the same social circle we'd moved in for decades. People who'd been guests in our home, who'd celebrated milestones with us. Now they were watching the drama unfold like spectators at a particularly uncomfortable play. You should join us, one of James' business associates called out, clearly trying to diffuse the tension. We're celebrating. That's so kind, I replied, settling into my table within perfect earshot of theirs, but I wouldn't want to impose. Besides, I have some work to review before next week's big announcement. James' head snapped up. What announcement? Oh, you'll find out soon enough. The gala invitation went out today, didn't it? I'm sure it'll be a night to remember. A waiter appeared with a bottle of champagne. Compliments of Mr. Pearson, he said, pouring me a glass. I raised it in James' direction. To new beginnings. Caroline stood up abruptly. We need to talk. Now, she grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the ladies' room. Inside the opulent bathroom, she spun to face me. What are you doing? Having dinner, I said, checking my lipstick in the mirror. The lamb really is excellent here. Stop it, her voice cracked. Stop acting like this doesn't hurt you. I know you, Margaret. You're planning something. I turned to face her. We'd shared a bathroom growing up, fought over mirror space, borrowed each other's clothes without asking. Now, at 53 and 55, we were strangers wearing the masks of sisters. You're right. You do know me. So you know exactly what happens to people who betray me. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she whispered. We fell in love. We couldn't help it. I laughed, the sound echoing off the marble walls. Couldn't help stealing my dress? Couldn't help waiting until I was out of town? I shook my head. Please, Caroline. At least have the decency to be honest about your choices. Her eyes, so like our mother's, filled with tears. You've always had everything so easy. The perfect career, the perfect marriage. Do you know what it's like to be in your shadow? To always be the failure, the one who couldn't keep a husband, couldn't make a career work. Easy? I repeated, genuinely astonished. You think my life has been easy? I worked 80-hour weeks for decades while you were finding yourself. I propped up James' ego and his family's company while you drifted from one art job to another. I paid for your 2 divorces, your therapy, your emergencies. And this, I gestured between us. This is how you repay me? The bathroom door opened. A woman walked in, took one look at us, and quickly walked back out. What's this announcement everyone's talking about? Caroline demanded. You'll find out at the gala. Bring your best smile. There will be photographers. Her face crumpled. Why are you being like this? I'm your sister. Exactly. You were my sister, which made your betrayal so much worse. A sharp knock interrupted us. Caroline? James' voice called. Is everything okay? I opened the door, coming face to face with the man who had slept beside me for 25 years. The man who knew every scar on my body, every fear in my mind. The man who had promised forever. Everything's fine. We're just having a little sister chat. By the way, how's the company doing, James? I heard there were some concerning quarterly reports. He paled again. How did you? I always did pay more attention to business than you gave me credit for. I patted his cheek as I passed. See you at the gala. Back at my table, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk about James Harris. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., Capital Coffee. I was about to delete it when another text came through. I have information you'll want to hear before the gala. Ask for David. Across the restaurant, I could see James and Caroline in heated discussion, their celebration thoroughly disrupted. Their friends were making excuses, leaving in pairs. My lamb arrived, perfectly cooked. As I ate, I noticed Jennifer watching me from their table, her expression a mix of fear and admiration. More champagne, miss? The waiter asked. No, thank you, but please send a bottle to my sister's table with my congratulations. I finished my meal slowly, savoring each bite as their party disintegrated around them. As I stood to leave, I dropped a business card on their table. You might need this, I told James. It's my lawyer's number for when you figure out what's coming. Outside, the night air was cool against my skin. My phone buzzed again, the unknown number. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Don't be late. You'll want to hear this. I saved the number under David and flagged down a taxi. The night had gone perfectly, but tomorrow promised to be even more interesting. After all, in business and revenge, information is everything. Meeting David, Capital Coffee was busy when I arrived the next morning. A man in a charcoal suit waved from a corner table. Athletic build, gray at the temples, kind eyes, definitely not what I was expecting. You must be David, I said, sliding into the seat across from him. And you're Margaret Pierce, the woman who's about to take down James Harris, he replied, pushing a coffee toward me. Black, 2 sugars. Your usual, according to the barista. Should I be concerned you know my coffee order? I make it my business to know things. He slid a folder across the table. Like how James has been embezzling from his family's company for the past year. I opened the folder, scanning documents filled with transaction records and bank statements. How did you get these? I'm the external auditor hired by the board last month. Found some concerning patterns. David leaned forward. But here's what's interesting. The money isn't in his accounts. It's in your sister's. My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. What? James has been funneling company funds into accounts under Caroline's name. She probably doesn't even know they exist. He tapped the documents. Your acquisition isn't just going to expose his mismanagement. It's going to uncover fraud. Why are you showing me this? His eyes, a warm, intelligent brown, held mine steadily. Because James did the same thing to my sister 3 years ago. Different company, same scheme. She lost everything when it came crashing down. His jaw tightened. He's got a pattern. I studied David's face, noticing the pain behind his professional demeanor. Your sister, Amy. She was 38 when she met James at a charity function. By 40, she'd lost her savings, her home, and nearly her sanity. He paused. Our parents raised us to believe in the best in people. It took Amy years to trust anyone again. Something in his expression reminded me of my father, that same mix of analytical mind and protective instinct. I'm sorry, I said, genuinely moved. It explained why he'd reached out, why he wanted to help. This wasn't just business for him, it was personal. Don't be sorry, he replied. Be ruthless. I nodded, understanding completely. When you reach our age, you learn that justice rarely comes without someone pushing for it. My wife and I divorced 10 years ago, David continued, an unexpected shift in conversation. She said I was too consumed with my work, too focused on numbers instead of people. A wry smile crossed his face. She wasn't entirely wrong. But when Amy got taken in by James, I realized all those numbers actually represented people, their dreams, their security, their futures. I thought of the Harris Technologies employees whose livelihoods depended on the company's survival. The board doesn't know about any of this, not yet. I was preparing my report when I heard about your acquisition. David sat back. Thought you might want this information before the gala. The cafe door chimed. I glanced up to see Jennifer walking in. She spotted me and froze. Don't look now, I told David. But we're about to have company. Margaret, Jennifer hurried over. I've been trying to reach you. Caroline's a mess. She stopped, noticing David. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize. It's fine, I said. We're just discussing business. What about Caroline? Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. She found something weird in her mail. Bank statements for accounts she says aren't hers. James told her it was a mistake, but when did these arrive? David interrupted. Yesterday, after the dinner at LeBlanc. Jennifer looked between us. What's going on? I gathered the documents, sliding them into my bag. Tell Caroline to keep those statements somewhere safe, and tell her not to sign anything James gives her. Margaret, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. I stood up. David walked with me outside. The morning sun was harsh and bright. David fell into step beside me. Your sister's lucky, he said. Most of James' victims don't find out until it's too late. She's not lucky. She's just got me. I stopped walking. I need everything you have on his previous schemes. Already compiled. He pulled a USB drive from his pocket. But be careful. He gets dangerous when cornered. So do I. My phone buzzed again. This time a text from James. Just got an interesting call from the board. What have you done? Looks like he's starting to piece it together, David observed, reading over my shoulder. Good, I typed back, looking forward to discussing it at the gala. You're enjoying this, David noted, a hint of admiration in his voice. Wouldn't you? Fair point. He handed me his card. Call me if you need anything else. And Margaret, he caught my eye. Make it hurt. There was something about David that felt familiar and yet entirely new. Not the electricity of attraction I'd felt with James all those years ago, but something steadier, more grounded. At our age, I thought, we recognize value differently. We see beyond surface charm to the substance beneath. I watched him walk away, then called Richard. We need to move up the timeline, I said when he answered. How fast can you get the board together? They're already asking questions. James has been making calls all morning. Perfect. Send me everything you have on the board members and... Richard, make sure my sister gets an official invitation to the emergency board meeting. Already done. But Margaret, be careful. Cornered rats bite. I ended the call and opened my rideshare app. Another text came through, this time from Caroline. Found more statements. We need to talk, please. Finally, I thought. The pieces were falling into place. Where to? The driver asked as I slid into the back seat. Law offices of Riley and Associates. I replied, thinking of Charlotte. Time to prepare for war. The USB drive felt heavy in my pocket. Ammunition I hadn't expected but desperately needed. Sometimes karma needs a little help, and sometimes it sends exactly the right ally at exactly the right time. The emergency board meeting was set for 3 p.m., but I arrived early to watch them file in. James' father looking grave, his uncle checking his phone nervously, board members I'd researched extensively over the past months, all wearing expressions of concern. Caroline arrived last, clutching her purse like a shield. She'd been crying. Henry Harris, now in his 80s, moved with the slow dignity of a patriarch watching his empire crumble. He'd built Harris Technologies from a modest family business into a respected mid-sized corporation, but his health had forced him to hand control to James 5 years ago. I caught his eye as he entered, and for a moment, a look passed between us, mutual recognition of what was about to happen. What is this? James demanded when he saw me. You can't be here. Actually, Richard stepped forward. Miss? Pierce is now the majority shareholder. She has every right to be here. The room erupted in whispers. Henry stood up, looking as though he'd aged a decade overnight. What did you say? Perhaps we should begin, I suggested, taking my seat at the head of the table. For 25 years, I'd sat beside James at family dinners, always in the supportive role. Never at the head. We have a lot to discuss. David entered quietly, handing out his audit reports. James' face went from red to white in seconds. Before we start, I said, I should mention that everything said here is being recorded. Legal requirement, you understand. This is ridiculous, James sputtered. You can't show them. I nodded to David. He connected his laptop to the projector. Bank statements filled the screen, transactions highlighted in angry red. Over the past 14 months, David began. Approximately $12 million has been diverted from company accounts into private holdings. Henry leaned forward, the proud patriarch now a diminished old man witnessing his legacy crumble. That's impossible. Our internal audits were falsified, David finished. The real numbers tell a different story. I watched Caroline as the evidence mounted. Her hands shook as she recognized the account numbers. These accounts, David continued, were opened under the name of Caroline Pierce. All eyes turned to my sister. I didn't, she started. James told me they were investment accounts. Did you sign anything? I asked her quietly. She nodded, tears spilling. Last week, he said it was for our future. I remembered how our father had warned us about signing documents we didn't understand. Never trust anyone with your signature, girls, he'd say. Not even me. Caroline had always signed without reading, from school permission slips to marriage certificates. Some habits never change. You, James snarled at me. You planned this. No, James, you planned this. I just exposed it. I turned to the board. I have a proposal. The company needs new leadership. I'm offering to step in with immediate effect. This is a family company, Henry protested, but the fight had gone out of his voice. And it will remain one, I assured him. You'll keep your position as chairman, but your son needs to step down. Or these documents go to the SEC. I let that sink in. Your choice. The room fell silent except for Caroline's quiet sobs. There's more, David added, changing slides. Similar patterns at his previous employers. 3 companies, same scheme. James lunged across the table at David. Security guards materialized, restraining him. You're finished. He spat at me. Both of you. He looked at Caroline. All of you. No, I corrected him. You're finished. Guards, please escort Mr. Harris out. The police are waiting in the lobby. As they dragged him away, Henry stood up. His hand trembled as he adjusted his tie, a gesture I'd seen James make 100 times. I moved to accept Ms. Pierce's proposal. The vote was unanimous. Afterward, in the empty boardroom, Caroline approached me. Did you know about the accounts? Not until yesterday. I handed her Charlotte's card. She's the best fraud lawyer in the city. Call her. Why are you helping me? Because you're my sister, and because you're another one of his victims. I gathered my papers. But Caroline, we're not okay. Not yet. I know, she wiped her eyes. I'm so sorry, Margaret, about everything. Sorry doesn't fix it, but this might be a start. David waited for me in the hallway. That went well. Better than expected. I checked my phone, dozens of missed calls from the Harris family. Now comes the hard part, the gala tomorrow. Still planning to attend? He reminded me. Wouldn't miss it. I smiled. Want to be my date? He raised an eyebrow. Mixing business with pleasure? Maybe. I just want someone trustworthy by my side for once. In that case, he offered his arm. Let's get coffee and you can tell me what you're really planning for tomorrow night. As we walked out, I saw James being led into a police car. Karma, with a little help from careful planning and unexpected allies. My phone buzzed. Charlotte, just met with Caroline. You're not going to believe what she told me. Save it for tomorrow, I texted back. The gala should be interesting. Looking up at David, I felt something I hadn't experienced in weeks. Hope. Maybe revenge wasn't just about destruction. Maybe it could also be about rebuilding something better from the ashes. So David, I said as we reached the coffee shop, about tomorrow night. The gala would be my coronation as CEO, but somehow, I had a feeling it would be about much more than just business. At the gala ballroom sparkled with crystal and champagne, but all eyes were on me as I descended the grand staircase in a midnight blue gown. David waited at the bottom, looking sharp in his tuxedo. Ready to make history? He whispered, taking my arm. Born ready. Cameras flashed as we made our entrance. The business world's elite mingled with local celebrities, all here to witness the announcement. Henry stood with the board members, his expression unreadable. My dress, a custom couture piece that had cost more than I'd ever spent on clothing, was a statement in itself. At 55, I wasn't trying to compete with younger women's revealing gowns. Instead, I'd chosen something that spoke of power, confidence, and unapologetic maturity. The designer had understood immediately what I wanted: a dress that says you've earned your place at the table. Margaret, Charlotte waved us over. You need to hear what Caroline told me. Later, I promised. First, we have a show to put on. Richard appeared with champagne. Everything's set. The press is eager for the announcement. Where's Caroline? I asked. Here. My sister emerged from the crowd in a simple black dress, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. The police interviewed me all morning. They're investigating all of James' past ventures. Good. I handed her a glass. Stay close. You'll want to hear this. The room hushed as Richard took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. We have an important announcement regarding the future of Harris Technologies. I felt Caroline tense beside me. Please welcome our new CEO, Ms. Margaret Pierce. The applause was deafening as I took the stage. Camera flashes intensified. Thank you, I began. Harris Technologies has been a cornerstone of innovation for 3 generations. Tonight marks not just a change in leadership, but a new chapter in corporate responsibility. I caught Henry's eye. He nodded slightly. As my first act as CEO, I'm announcing a full audit of all company finances. Transparency will be our new foundation. Additionally, I paused for effect. We're establishing a victims' compensation fund for those affected by previous management's fraudulent activities. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Caroline gasped. To those who lost their savings, their trust, their futures, I finished. We see you. We will make this right. David stepped forward, presenting additional documents to the press. The story would break tomorrow. James' complete history of fraud, the pattern of destruction he'd left behind. As I concluded my speech, Jennifer rushed in, looking frantic. She whispered something to Caroline, whose face went pale. What's wrong? I asked, stepping down from the stage. James made bail. Caroline's voice shook. He's here. On cue, the ballroom doors burst open. James stormed in, disheveled and wild-eyed. You think you've won? He shouted. You think this is over? Security moved toward him, but he pulled out an envelope. I have proof. She orchestrated everything. She trapped me. David stepped between us. Leave now, James, while you still can. No. He threw the envelope at me. Papers scattered across the floor. Read it. Tell them how you planned this for months. I picked up one of the papers, smiling. You mean these? The records of your offshore accounts, the ones you thought were so well hidden? His face fell. Or maybe you mean these emails? I held up another page, the one showing you planned to frame my sister for your embezzlement. How did you? Ah, I learned from the best, didn't I? You taught me to always be 3 steps ahead. I turned to the shocked crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, exhibit in why you shouldn't underestimate the woman you're planning to betray. Security finally reached him, but James had one last card to play. Caroline, tell them. Tell them how we planned it together. All eyes turned to my sister. She stepped forward, Charlotte at her side. No, James, you planned it. You used me just like you used everyone else. She pulled out a recording device. And I have proof. The color drained from his face as his own voice filled the room, detailing his schemes, his manipulations, his plans to frame Caroline if things went wrong. Take him out, I ordered. Security, the police are waiting again. As they dragged him away, Caroline turned to me. I recorded everything after I found those bank statements. Charlotte helped me understand what he was really doing. Good girl, I said softly. Maybe you're learning too. Aftermath, a 1 week later. The morning after the gala, I found Caroline waiting in my office, clutching a familiar white garment bag. Your wedding dress, she said quietly. I had it cleaned. I took the bag, laying it across my desk. Bit late for that, don't you think? I know, she twisted her hands together. The police called again this morning. They found more victims. So many, Margaret. How did I not see it? Because you saw what you wanted to see. I sat down behind my desk, just like I did at first. In truth, there had been signs with James for years, little inconsistencies in his stories, unexplained absences, financial decisions that never quite made sense. But I'd chosen to ignore them, to focus on maintaining the perfect marriage everyone believed we had. How much of our 25 years together had been real? I might never know. A knock interrupted us. David entered with coffee and files. Sorry, didn't realize you had company. Stay, I said. We need to discuss the victims fund anyway. Caroline stood to leave, but I stopped her. You should hear this too. You're one of his victims now. Am I? Her voice cracked. Or am I just another perpetrator? Sit down, Caroline. I opened one of David's files. Let's talk about how we fix this. David spread documents across my desk. We've identified 23 victims across 4 companies. Total losses around $20 million. I'll cover it, I said. All of it. Margaret, no. Caroline protested. You can't. I can, and I will. I signed the authorization. Consider it penance for not seeing through him sooner. My phone buzzed. Charlotte calling. I put her on speaker. Turn on the news, she said without preamble. Now. I clicked on the wall-mounted TV. James' face filled the screen, but not from the gala. This was security footage from years ago, showing him with another woman, young, vulnerable, familiar. That's Amy, David said quietly. My sister. We watched in silence as the story unfolded. James' pattern of seducing women, using them for financial gain, leaving them to take the fall. The reporter called it a systematic campaign of fraud and emotional manipulation spanning over 15 years. They interviewed Amy this morning, David added. She's been building this case for years. Caroline sank deeper into her chair. I feel sick. Good, I said. That means you're finally seeing clearly. Another knock. Richard this time, with more files. Boards waiting in the conference room. They want to discuss damage control. No, I said firmly. No damage control. We face this head on. Full transparency. The stock will take a hit, he warned. Let it. We'll rebuild stronger. I gathered my papers. David, bring Amy in this afternoon. I want her involved in structuring the victims fund. What about me? Caroline asked softly. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind the designer clothes and perfect makeup, I saw something new. Remorse. Start by telling the truth, I said. To yourself, to the police, to everyone. Then we'll talk about forgiveness. She nodded, tears spilling. I never meant. I know. I surprised myself by reaching for her hand. But you did it anyway. David cleared his throat. The board's waiting. Go, Caroline said, wiping her eyes. I'll talk to the police again, tell them everything. As she left, David touched my arm. You're being kinder than she deserves. Maybe I picked up my wedding dress. Or maybe I'm just tired of letting James destroy everything he touches. 6 months later, the sentencing. The courtroom fell silent as the judge prepared to deliver James' sentence. I sat between David and Charlotte, watching my former husband in his prison jumpsuit. He looked small now, nothing like the man who'd once seemed larger than life. The defendant has shown a pattern of deliberate fraud and manipulation, the judge began. The impact on his victims has been devastating. Caroline squeezed my hand from the row behind us. She'd testified yesterday, laying bare every detail of James' manipulation. Her testimony had been the final nail in his coffin. Taking into account the severity and repeated nature of these crimes, the judge continued. This court sentences the defendant to 15 years in federal prison. The gallery erupted in whispers. Amy, sitting with other victims, burst into tears. Additionally, the defendant is ordered to make full restitution to all victims. James stood handcuffed. Your Honor, please. Remove the defendant. the judge ordered. As guards led him away, James caught my eye. I held his gaze, refusing to look away until he disappeared through the side door. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Richard stepped forward, handling the press while David guided me through the crowd. "Miss Pierce," a reporter called out, "how does it feel to see justice served?" I stopped, turning to face the cameras. This isn't about justice for me. It's about protection. Protecting past victims, future victims, and everyone who trusted him. That's what leadership means. In the parking lot, Caroline waited by my car. "Did you mean what you said in there about protection?" "Yes." I unlocked the doors. "Get in. We need to talk." We drove to our childhood park, where we used to share secrets and dreams. The swings were empty, waiting. "Remember when we used to compete to swing higher?" Caroline asked as we sat down. "You always won." "No," she smiled sadly. "I just made more noise about it." "You always flew higher." David had offered to come, but this moment needed to be just us, sisters trying to find their way back. "I sold my apartment," Caroline said suddenly. "Used the money to start a support group for fraud victims. Amy's helping me run it." "I know, Charlotte told me." "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she continued. "I just want you to know I'm trying to be better." A family walked past, two little girls holding hands, their parents falling behind. We watched them in silence. "I kept your wedding dress," I finally said. "Why?" "To remind me that sometimes the worst moments lead us to the best decisions." I dug in my purse, pulling out an envelope. "Which is why I want you to have this." She opened it, reading quickly. "A job offer, head of our new victim advocacy department. You've got the experience now, both sides of it. Use it." "Margaret," she wiped her eyes, "why are you doing this?" "Because you're my sister, and because everyone deserves a chance to rebuild." My phone buzzed. David sending a photo from our dinner last night. We were both laughing, caught in a moment of pure joy. "He's good for you," Caroline observed. "Better than James ever was. He sees me, really sees me." I stood up. "Just like I finally see you." "And what do you see?" "Someone who got lost but found her way back. Someone who's trying." I offered my hand. "Someone who might be ready to be my sister again." She took my hand, standing. "I don't deserve you." "No, you didn't, but maybe you can earn it." Now, walking back to the car, we passed a bridal shop. In the window, a wedding dress not unlike mine caught the sunlight. "You should wear blue," Caroline said suddenly, "when you marry David." "Getting ahead of yourself there, maybe?" "Maybe, but I've seen how he looks at you, how you look at him. It's how Dad used to look at Mom, like she hung the moon and stars." I thought about our parents, their imperfect but enduring marriage, how they taught us about resilience without ever using the word. How they'd shown us that love wasn't just passion but choosing someone every day, even on the hard days. Especially on the hard days. My phone buzzed again, Richard this time. The company's stock had rebounded, stronger than ever. Trust, it seemed, was good for business. "Ready to go back to work?" I asked Caroline. "Ready to start over," she corrected. As we drove back to the office, I thought about karma and consequences, about betrayal and forgiveness, about how sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's rising above it, bringing others up with you. David waited in the lobby, holding coffee and possibility. Beside me, Caroline straightened her shoulders, ready to face her new beginning. "Welcome to Harris Technologies," I told her. "Try not to steal anything this time." She laughed, a real laugh, like when we were kids. "No promises, but I'll try to earn it instead." Sometimes that's all we can do, try to be better than we were yesterday. And sometimes, at 55, that's enough.